Passover celebrates the book of Exodus, the story of the liberation of Israelites from slavery in ancient times. At the sacred festival meal, the Seder, this story is recounted from generation to generation. The Passover celebration begins on the full moon following the vernal equinox and continues for 8 days. To commemorate the series of miracles that made the Israelites a united people, Jews must tell the story and explain the symbolic meaning of 6 foods eaten at the Seder feast. First, to consecrate the ceremony, the mother lights the candles and says the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Yom Tov. We praise you, Adonai, majestic sovereign of all life, who hallows our lives with commandments and sanctifies us to kindle holy lights. Most of us are familiar with the story of Exodus. Moses was born a Jew at a time when Jews were slaves in Egypt. A decree by Pharaoh condemned all Jewish baby boys to be killed. Moses was saved when his mother made him a basket and floated him down the Nile past Pharaoh's bathing daughter. The princess took Moses home and raised him as a prince in the palace. As a young man, Moses, looking out from the palace, was outraged when he witnessed a Jewish slave being beaten to death by a taskmaster. Moses killed the taskmaster and then fled to the hills. He became a shepherd, and one day, God spoke to him from a burning bush, telling him to return and to free his people. Moses went back and demanded to Pharaoh, in the name of Almighty, "Let my people go." Pharaoh refused, so God sent 10 plagues: frogs, lice, boils, pestilence, wild beasts, locusts, fire and hail, total darkness. The 10th plague was death of firstborn sons. For this devastating plague, the Jews were instructed to sacrifice a lamb and smear a bloody mark over their door so the angel of death would pass over their homes. On the full moon, following the vernal equinox, the angel of death came over the land, and Pharaoh's son died. Then Pharaoh commanded that the Israelites leave. They were ready. Over 670,000 men, their families and belongings, made a caravan to the Red Sea. God parted the sea for them, but not for Pharaoh's soldiers, who followed close behind to retrieve the slaves. After 400 years of enslavement, the Hebrew people were free. It is to honor the liberation of all people and for our own freedom from bondage that every year we celebrate Passover. Seder means order, and it describes the sacred meal eaten by families on the holiday of Passover. 6 foods plus wine are required at Seder, their symbolic meaning ceremonially described. Many of the foods celebrate the power and fertility of the spring season that follows the vernal equinox. 4 cups of wine are poured and blessed during the Seder. The blessing goes like this: Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei peri hagafen. Blessed are you, Creator of the universe, who creates the fruit of the vine. And l'chaim. Now, moror is the bitter herb symbolizing the harshness of slavery endured by the Hebrews in Egypt. The strength and power of horseradish root can bring tears to your eyes. The appearance of the horseradish root may call to mind fertility. Eating moror fulfills the mitzvah or blessing of tasting bitterness on this holiday. Haroset is a sweet brown mixture made of chopped nuts, chopped apples, cinnamon, and sweet red wine. This delicious brown lumpy spread represents the mortar and mud bricks familiar to Hebrew slaves in ancient times. Karpas is a spring vegetable. Parsley is often used to remind us of the renewal and bright freshness of spring. A stalk of celery is often included too, to represent a strong backbone and potent fertility. Salt water represents the tears and pain of Mitzrayim, the tight place, referring to the enslavement of ancient times, but also to our bondage from addictions and negativities in our own life. Parsley is dipped into the salt water and eaten at the beginning of the Seder. Karpas are blessed before dipping into salt water. So here's the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei peri hadoma. We praise you, Adonai, sovereign of life, who creates the fruit of the earth. And we will dip it in there, that salty water. Yum. Well, the only element of meat on the Seder plate is the lamb shank bone, symbolizing the Passover sacrifice, or the Paschal lamb that marked the homes of Hebrews during the 10th plague. The Paschal lamb is roasted and eaten as part of the Seder meal. A roasted egg is said to symbolize festival sacrifice. An egg eaten is a sacrifice, since it has the potential for life that is not fulfilled. Although it is not generally acknowledged, the egg clearly represents springtime renewal and the divine feminine from which every egg emerges. Representing the bread of affliction, 3 whole matzahs are stacked on the Seder table, each separated by cloth, a cloth napkin. The top matzah is used for the blessing over the bread. And the bottom matzah, here it is, makes a sandwich that includes moror and haroset, the bitter and the sweet, pressed between the bread of affliction. The middle matzah is broken in half and put aside as an afikomen, which is secretly hidden and then found by the children during the Seder. Since the Seder cannot proceed until the afikomen is found, it is ransomed back to the leader for a prize, usually money. So now I'm going to make a Hillel sandwich and eat it and share it with my beloved. So you take one piece of matzah here like this, and then you put some haroset on there. Boom. And a bit of bitter herb. You must have the bitter and the sweet. And this is gluten-free matzah for my sweetheart. Here, come and have some of that. Right. And I'm eating my keto matzah. This is keto matzah, so boom. You can try it. A little haroset on there. A little bit of you don't really say a prayer over it. You just bite it. But you gotta get some bitter. and some sweet. Did you get it? Horseradish, fresh horseradish. Well, every place at the Seder table must have a glass and 4 cups of wine, and a copy of the Haggadah, the special Seder prayer book, one for each guest, all of whom participate in the service. This is the CoSM Haggadah, created and developed since 1999. The youngest children that can read are expected to recite the 4 questions from the Haggadah. Manishtana halayla hazeh mikol halelot. Why is this night different from all other nights? What follows is a question and answer explanation of the Passover story of Exodus, so that children and adults in every generation will know and remember the meaning of Seder as a celebration of liberation.